Hello everyone, and welcome again. This week, I'm joined by the new fly fisher producer, Colin Mckeown. And I should say that Colin and I met almost 20 years ago when I first did an episode with them as a guest.
That's right.
And we haven't fished together since then.
Yeah.
So here we are at 10 Mile Lake Lodge in spectacular Algoma country.
We're going to spend 4 days, basically a long weekend, fishing together. And more importantly, we're going to fish for 3 species of trout. Splake, lake trout, and brook trout. And it's like home run of trout.
The Grand Slam.
And it's late May, perfect time to come here. The ice has been off the lake for about 2 weeks. We've got tons of small lakes around here to fish. And we're going to be talking about the tackle, the techniques, and a whole bunch of things. And more importantly, what we're going to be talking about, we've been listening to the viewers about, is there a place I can go that's affordable, accessible, and can I keep a couple fish? We're in that place. It's going to be a great show. We're going to have a lot of fun.
I can't wait.
Boys weekend. Stay with us.
Ooh, that's a nice sized fish.
Absolutely fantastic. Nice. Oh my goodness, that's the kind of fish they make stickers out of.
The new Fly Fisher is brought to you in partnership with Destination Ontario, Algoma Country, Orvis Fly Fishing, Scientific Anglers, Trout Unlimited, WeatherTech Canada.
In the contemporary world of fly fishing, catch and release has become the norm. And I would add, bordering on religion. But please don't get me wrong here. I practice catch and release exclusively and would argue till I die that it works and has been the single greatest trend in sport fishing over the past 40 years. But that doesn't mean that everyone practices it or, for that matter, has to. Provincial and state regulations dictate retention limits based on a number of criteria, and as long as those are adhered to, many fisheries thrive without mandated catch and release regulations. Here in Ontario, the Ministry of Natural Resources stocks many lakes in Algoma country for the purpose of allowing anglers the choice to keep what they catch based on current regulations. A good example of this program is the stocking of splake. Splake are a hybrid cross between lake trout and brook trout. Hardy, fast-growing, and wonderful sport for any angler. They're stocked in many of the lakes surrounding 10 Mile Lake Lodge. So for the angler that does want to travel to a fishery and enjoy a shore lunch or take a couple of fish home for the smoker, there are facilities that you can do that at without feeling a tinge of guilt. 10 Mile Lake Lodge in Algoma country is one of those facilities. 10 Mile Lake Lodge is located northwest of the small city of Elliott Lake and is almost a drive-to facility. We left our vehicles at a public launch where we were picked up by Dan, and with a second short portage where they have a pickup truck at the ready for all your gear, we were on the big lake, headed to camp. With several individual cabins and 2 larger cabins, 10 Mile Lake can accommodate groups up to 16 people. Be it a family outing or just getting together with friends, this facility is outstanding across the board. For the most part, it is a do-it-yourself lodge, but they supply you with most of what you need to cook, clean, and live large. And in the event you get beat up too badly by the fish, It even includes a sauna to relax in after a long day. Our first morning began with a series of relatively easy portages that took us to a high elevation lake that held lake trout, splake, and brookies. As has often been said of remote fishing trips, getting there is half the fun, and this was no exception. While the trails are not perfectly groomed, they are navigable. And Dan has done a wonderful job of setting up all the required infrastructure in terms of having boats on the lakes. This requires one to merely carry their personal gear and the relatively light 2-horsepower motors, which Dan has well-designed backpacks for. It was a little work, but well worth it.
Well, we're finally here. It's our first day out of 10 Mile Lake Lodge, and it was a little bit of work to get here, but not terrible. We did a couple of portages, and we're on this little lake, which is renowned for splake and some pretty good lake trout, apparently, eh?
And they told us sometimes they even get a brook trout. They're in here, but decent lake trout and splake. You've never caught a splake?
I've never caught a splake.
And I've only caught a couple, so this is exciting because they got good sized ones here. And if I could say, we got black flies all around us, kind of came through the woods. There's a nice breeze out there. Let's get on the lake.
Yeah,
because I don't really want to let these guys have lunch.
All right, let's do it.
Jump in there.
We're treating this lake just like any new lake that we'd fish. Colin has an intermediate sinking line on. I have a type 3 sinking line on with 2 different flies. And right now we're just probing. We do have a portable fish finder showing a structure, depth changes. We're looking for humps, any kind of submerged structure that might hold bait fish and therefore hold the splake or the lake trout. So at this point, all you can do is fool around with it and mess around with your retrieve, try different things until you start to establish a pattern.
We moved around the lake looking for likely structure, and it didn't take very long before Colin found a fish.
Nice. Not a big fish, but it's a fish. So, Rob, cast out here towards that hump. That's in the entrance to this little bay. We've lost a few fish, had a couple on, and then I was just doing the lift and stripping in and watching, and I saw him, and I gave a little pause twitch, and he came up, hit it. Not a super big fish, but
Little Scotty McFly. That looks like a splake.
it does.
Yeah, it is. There she is.
Yes, first fish of the day.
They look more like brook trout than lake trout.
Yeah, these ones do, don't they? Look at the colors.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just gonna give you a quick look at this guy. And they're much bigger in here, just a small one. See, look at that. Oh, beautiful fish.
For the next couple of hours, we moved around the lake, getting acquainted with it. But after a bit, decided to stretch our legs and walk to yet another offshoot of the main lake and cast to an inflow draining into it.
One of the really neat things about this area around 10 Mile Lake Lodge, is there's so many small lakes. We just docked the boats up on the main lake that we were fishing and followed this little creek down into this secondary lake, where Dan has informed us that there are lake trout and splake in here. Again, I think most of the lakes have a population of those, but it's just another one of many options that you can do. Get out, stretch the legs, go for a walk, and try this nice little outflow going into this lake. Colin's down casting in the more still water, and I'm gonna work this outflow and then cover this water in here behind me. See what happens.
Perfect. Any
Coming to the rescue.
Thanks, Rob. Come down through here, buddy.
Yep.
After having some fun on the little lake, it was time to start making our way back to the lodge. We wanted to give ourselves some time to fish on the return, so we headed off.
So once again, we're just kind of chasing this wind. We've just moved off this rock face and into this big opening that you can see behind me here. There's a ledge that we're casting to where it comes up considerably, and our thinking is the bait fish, the wind is going to push them this way, and then they're going to kind of get corralled in here. The splake, and hopefully the lake trout, should be amongst them, and we have hit a couple of fish, so we're just going to keep probing this, working it across, and see if we can't get a couple more fish. We moved from the leeward side to the windward side, thinking that bait fish are going to be pushed. That wind is going to push them in. And since we got here, we've had, well, probably 4 encounters now. Yeah. I hit one right off the bat. Another little splake. That's all right. Nicely done. They're very brook trouty, but that fish hit right next to the boat and jumped immediately like a steelhead jump. Come right out of the water.
That's great, Rob. Fish on.
Nice.
Colin and I hooked many more splake over the last hour or so, but sadly lost most of them as we brought them to the net. But that's fishing. Time to head back to their comfortable cabin and enjoy a cold adult beverage after a wonderful first day on the water. On the morning of our second day, Colin and I headed for one of the lakes that predominantly held lake trout, and we were told we could find some pretty good ones, up to about 6 pounds. So after a 10-minute walk from the camp, we loaded the boat up and got underway.
So this is our second day up at 10 Mile Lake. Colin's on the helm, giving me a break. Thank you. We're going after lake trout today. We had a good day yesterday with the splake. Today we're going to mix it up a little bit, try for some lake trout, and perhaps later, time permitting, we're going to go into one of the back lakes for some brookies.
Gonna be a fun day, Rob.
Going to be a great day. It's always a great day.
It's always a great day.
No bugs, it's too cold.
I like that.
We followed the advice of our fish finder and casted a structure and variations in the lake bottom, and did manage the odd encounter. But we didn't find any concentration of fish until we slid into a tiny bay, and our crack cameraman saw a fish move on the surface. There was a small outflow coming into this bay, and our thinking was the lakers had moved in to feed on bait congregating here and perhaps even spawning suckers.
what Colin and I are doing here is just covering as much of this bowl that we're anchored on and working to the upsweep in that bowl. That's where we believe the fish are going to be oriented to, because the bait fish are going to be oriented to that, especially in this cold snap that happened overnight. The bait fish are going to seek out the warmer water, and of course the lake trout are going to follow them in. So we're just covering as much water as we can. The wind is swirling us around a little bit, but it's actually almost working to our advantage, because we can sort of cover a 360-degree radius here around us and hopefully just show our fly to as many fish as possible in here. So far it's working out okay. Nice. Nice. Oh, that's a good one too.
And he nailed on one of the
Oh! There's a fish. There we go.
All right. Fish on.
Good one too.
We'll keep him away from that.
Yeah, I
anchor.
know. I know.
Well, that's got some weight.
Yeah. We've
Oh, I can see him.
definitely
That's a decent
we've
fish.
definitely found something.
That's about the same size as the one I
Yeah.
had.
Yeah. We've definitely got something here.
So you got a 6-weight rod,
Yep.
right? Full single line.
Casting an 8-weight fly. Fairly fast strip. They're stronger. There we go. Nice. Way to go. Way to go. Nice fish. But I don't think that's quite as big as that fish that you fought, but it's
It's up there. That's
a good
that's a
fish.
good 3-pounder. Okay, flies out.
Flies
Came
out.
out. Yeah. I'm gonna hold it like this for you.
nice. Good fish. That's a good fish in anyone's book. Whoa. Good fish flop.
And off he goes.
Well, we've had our share of fun with the lake trout this morning, but I think it's time now. Go look for some brook trout on that other lake. What do you think, Colin?
I think it's a great idea, and that's one of the wonderful things about this area. You can spend the morning catching lake trout, go to a portage, go to another lake, go catch brook trout. Let's do it.
Blake.
Or splake.
Did yesterday.
Yep, let's go do it.
Okay.
Get the anchor, my friend. I'll take your rod.
Well, here we are on yet another lake. We just did a quick portage, and this is one of the many brook trout lakes. It's exclusively brook trout. So we're going to work along. Dan has indicated that this north shore that we're on here now is the shore to fish. There's lots of woody structure. Colin and I are going to take turns. One is going to control the boat with the paddle, and we're going to work along this, cast a structure, see if we can't find some of these big brookies. Nice. Good one too. Nice one.
Just coughed up a minnow about 1.5 inches long.
It's a good fish too. That's a
Okay.
beaut.
It's a beaut.
That's a beaut.
All right,
That's what we call a
gonna
beaut.
bring him in. There he is. Nice. Done. That's a pretty fish. That is a beautiful fish. Oh my goodness. Oh, the fly just popped out too. Nice. Good. Yeah, I'll get that out of there. Okay. Got it? Good. Yeah. So, first cast, and what we did, we came in here, a little trouble with the anchor. Got over here, we got the beaver lodge and lots of timber, fallen timber here. It's 9 feet and it drops off into 20. On the edge, I saw on the sonar some fish. So we had to play around a bit to get us just perfectly positioned so we could cast to the shore and not spook the fish. And what that's a good 14-inch fish. Yeah. It's not a giant, but it's still a nice start to our brook trout adventure. Show them quickly. There, nice look at that. Beautiful, beautiful fish. And let him go. Well done. Well, that's the trifecta. Yeah, we're kind of having a great trip. We got them all. All right. Rob, we've worked so hard to get this fish. And you know, I think this bright blue skies and the cold air, it's the cold front, it put the fish down. So we've had to work the few fish we've had a couple hit. It's not a big guy, but he was against that rock ledge, which is getting heat. And he took this streamer. All right. Oh yeah, that's about 14 inches, 15 inches. I'm sure by the time we get back to camp, it'll be 22. But, you know, the important thing is we got one. This guy's going to go fast. We're looking for 4 or 5 pounds, even 3 pounds. Today, it seems like they're down deep. So I'm going to just take this guy, drop it like this. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? Absolutely gorgeous. There we go. There it goes. No, it's okay. We got it. Some days, you work so hard to get 2 fish, and other days, you don't have to work very hard at all to get a dozen. Every day is different here, but the beauty is we're fishing to fish. There's lots of fish here, and wouldn't it be great if tomorrow the hatches came on here? You know, this front goes through and everything, and we get to see some hatch action, maybe some dry fly action. I don't know, but I've got a good feeling about tomorrow.
Colin found a couple of good brookies while working to a rocky ledge, but we didn't really knock him dead. After trying several more fishy-looking areas, hunger got the better of us, and we headed back. No question, though, for either of us, we were starting to figure things out. The equipment that we used this week ranged from 6 weights through 8 weights, with large arbor reels to match. We used lines from intermediate to type 3 full sinking to deal with the range of depths. On our third morning, at first light, Colin and I decided to hit the main lake. We knew it would be a long shot as the weather had turned warm quickly and our ice out expectations were low. However, the thought of finding large lakers in shallow water got the best of us, and we headed for a couple of locations that Dan had marked for us.
This is our third morning out of 10 Mile Lake Lodge, and today we've decided to stay on the big lake. It's dead calm, as you can see, and Dan has directed us to these falls behind me where the lakers will come in and congregate to feed on the spawning suckers and rainbow shiners. We've got flies to imitate all of that, so we're just going to probe around here and see what happens.
The water temperature and the conditions dictated that the lakers should be fairly shallow, but we couldn't find them. Even after half-heartedly trolling the shoreline and some structure to see if we could mark some fish, it just wasn't happening. I guess that's one of the caveats of do-it-yourself fishing. With limited time, you can only do so much. It was a beautiful, crisp, clean morning though, and we horsed around some of the little islands and the narrows on the way back to the lodge and had fun doing it. But the fish on this morning weren't cooperating even a little. We took some time off during the heat of the day to relax and prepare an early supper. I took a few minutes after eating to chat with Dan and Jill about the unique history of this lodge and its fishery.
No, in 1979, my dad purchased the property, and it used to be an old rundown logging camp. We refurbished all the old buildings, and a couple of years later, we started running it as a lodge.
10 Mile Lake has is a #1 lake trout lake considered. So the lake trout fishing is wonderful here. We also have many adjacent lakes. I think we have about probably 12 that have other species that include splake and brook trout. And some of those lakes are fish sanctuaries. So they're not open during the winter. They're only open during the spring and summer. So there's other opportunities to do fishing outside of 10 Mile. And all of those lakes, we have boats and motors for those lakes.
Our plan for the evening was to return to Esma Lake, where we had found the Lakers the day before, and fish them into dusk. There had been enough bug activity that we thought there might be a good chance to intercept a hatch. Either way, we were figuring Esma out. And if I've said it once, I've said it 1,000 times, it makes little sense to leave fish to find fish. So we stayed with what we knew.
So it's the evening of our third day on the water, but the day has been bright and blue, so the fishing has been tough. Tonight we're hoping for a dusk bite. We're going to hang around the mouth of this creek and work the hump behind us and just see if we can up our odds a little bit.
As I mentioned, we hoped for an evening hatch, but until that happened, or even if it happened, we continued to stay deep with varying sinking lines and fly patterns.
We get asked a lot about casting and managing and the challenges of fishing sinking lines or sinking tips. There's a right and a wrong way to do everything. What I'm going to demonstrate for you right now is what we refer to as a Belgian cast or an oval cast, which keeps the fly line moving in perpetual motion and allows you to deliver the heavy sinking lines far better. In a standard overhand cast, when our casting stroke is traveling in a straight line path. With the oval cast, you're bringing the fly line under the rod tip to a stopping point, but then in almost one motion, you're bringing the line forward. I'm going to show that to you. I'm using a floating line for the purposes of this demonstration, just so you can see it and I can slow everything down. With the oval cast, I'm going to bring the fly line under the rod tip and then over the top in real time or perpetual motion. That allows, or that takes gravity out of the equation and will really eliminate tailing loops or tangles or crashes with heavy sinking tips.
Got him. Fish.
Fish. Nice. Coming over.
It's ready to come up, believe it or not. It's not a big one.
All right.
Okay, I think he's ready. You ready, Rob?
I'm ready.
This guy followed it up, and I gave it a little pause and a twitch, and he hit it.
Nice. Get in there. All right.
This is a sink tip, right?
Yeah, that's that type 6.
Type 6. So how long is it?
It's
20
getting
feet?
down. Yeah.
Yeah.
It'd be 20 feet.
Okay.
I think they're it might be 30. Might be 30 actually.
Feels a little longer.
Yeah.
So we'll say it's 25 to 30 foot.
Yeah.
Sink tip type 6, so that's 6 inches per second.
It's getting down quick.
It is. And the fly has got a 7 32nd
Cone head.
cone head to help get the weight down. And then what I found was working, putting my rod tip down and doing quick strips like this.
This is the first action we've really seen all night. We had one follow earlier, but this is the first time we've had anything consistent. I hit a fish, you landed 2, so that's good. And we've still got a bit of time left before that sun gets low.
Yeah. And I think that, if it's like bass fishing, I think more trout will move in as soon as that sun hits the top of those treetops. And then we're going to have maybe 15 to 20 minutes of consistent action.
As Colin touched on, sinking fly lines are now available in a very broad range of tapers, sink rates, and styles to deal with the conditions and species. While one sink rate doesn't cover everything, it doesn't mean that you need a bunch. So if you're planning a trip like this and you're unsure of what you need, get with your local fly shop and let them sort it out for you. With the right lines in your kit, you won't find yourself struggling to find fish.
I don't know what size this is. That was my second cast. I got another one. This one's about the same size. It's not a huge fish, but he's sure making the 7 weight bend. And I'm using a smelt pattern.
Well, we're starting to lose the light. Had a good night, boated a couple of fish, had a few more encounters, but tomorrow holds a lot of promise. The conditions look really good, and we're hoping for our last day that we're going to knock them dead. The lakes surrounding 10 Mile intrigued Colin and I, and after hearing one of the less accessible brook trout ponds, Colin and I jumped at the opportunity. Now, our overall timing for the trip to 10 Mile was pretty good. Water temperatures were good, lake levels were solid, and there was certainly enough bugs around to keep us interested. Despite all that though, you can't do much about the weather, and on our last morning, the sun and high sky combined with the extremely clear water in all of the lakes would prove to be our enemy. We gave the little lake the best shot we could and really threw everything in our arsenal to find the brookies, but couldn't close the deal. That's the way it goes sometimes. But despite our lack of fish, the lake was beautiful, the company was great, and Colin and I had a fun little adventure to close out our long weekend. While we were prepared for any and all situations in terms of flies, all of our success came on streamers towed behind sinking lines. If you're planning to visit the region, we would recommend you have a variety, such as double deceivers, bucktails, or synthetic bait fish patterns, and definitely the Scotty McFly and an assortment of woolly buggers.
It really sucks to leave. I got to tell you, Rob, it's great we had a chance to go fishing finally. But think about it, 4-day weekend. The weather's been really great, but it's not even that. This place is so beautiful. We caught 3 species of trout: brook trout, splake, lake trout. We didn't really have a bad day. Every day was wonderful. And we had fun. Saw spectacular scenery. Got into some really cool lakes. There's no cottages, there's no people. It was terrific. If you're looking for a place to go, a drive-to location here in Northern Ontario, here in Algoma, I don't think this gets too much better than this, does it?
No. Thank you for joining us again, and please check out our YouTube channel or visit us on the web at thenewflyfisher.com. Until next time, good hunting, and we hope to see you on the water.
The New Fly Fisher is brought to you in partnership with Destination Ontario, Algoma Country, Orvis Fly Fishing, Scientific Anglers, Trout Unlimited, WeatherTech Canada,